Welcome commissioners,
This
participants,
meeting is being recorded.
and interested parties to the January 20th, 2022 meeting of the Cohasset Conservation Commission. I'm Chris McFarland, Chairman of the Conservation Commission, and will be running tonight's meeting as we implement Massachusetts and Cohasset Wetland Protection Act and Cohasset Stormwater Management Regulations. We'll be operating tonight's meeting via the Zoom platform and ask the public who wish to participate to enter your questions or comments in the chat box. Please include your name and address. Only those with name and address will be recognized. Present this evening on behalf of the Conservation Commission, our Conservation Administrator, Angela Giso, and our Town Conservation Agent, Charlotte Patel. Do a quick roll call vote, knowing that Will Ashton, Eric Eisenhower are not joining us tonight. Kathy Berrigan will join us late. So those present: Tom Bell.
Tom Bell present.
Trish Grady.
Trish Grady present.
Jay Pampari.
Jay Pampari present.
Chris McFarland present. And Associate Commissioner Chris McIntyre.
Chris McIntyre present.
Great. So we currently have a quorum of 4 voting members and our Associate Commissioner. Our first item on the agenda this evening is NOI 21-12 for 12 Hobart Lane, which was continued from even before, but most recently continued from January 6, 2022. The applicant has asked again for a continuance, so that hearing is continued till our next hearing, which would be what, February the 3rd,
February 3rd,
2022. Our next item on the agenda tonight, I need to read into the record. It's for 172 South Main Street. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Cohasset Wetland Bylaws, and the Cohasset Stormwater Bylaw, the Cohasset Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Thursday, January 20th, 2022, starting at 6:30 p.m. via remote participation on a Zoom platform for an NOI 22-02 at 172 South Main Street to replace the septic system. So, Charlotte, I'm hoping you know who to
Yep.
promote on this.
We have Jeff Hassett from Morse Engineering.
All right, good evening. Jeff Hassett here. I'll bring up the design plan. So this property, the address is 172 South Main Street, and the property is about 4/10 of an acre, and it's developed with a 5-bedroom single-family dwelling. We designed a new septic system because of the current one failed a Title V inspection. The system they currently have is a septic tank that flows by gravity to a leaching field in the backyard. There are wetlands in the back left corner of the property, which are shown in blue. The 25 and 50-foot buffers in red, and the 100-foot buffer in green. So the new system will be, the plumbing will continue to come out of the rear of the house. We're proposing a new septic tank. It'll actually be a hoot treatment tank, so it does get nitrogen removal. In the same approximate location as the existing tank. It'll then flow by gravity to a pump chamber and then to a pressure dosed drip system. The system is a minimum of 50.5 feet from the wetland, which is what is required by Title V and the Cohasset Board of Health septic regulations. We are asking for a variance for work within the 50-foot buffer for the new tank and the pump chamber. Just due to the topography of the land, that's where they have to go. But they are sealed watertight tanks and no closer to the wetland than the current leaching field that's being removed. So this, in our opinion, is a big improvement towards the wetlands and the surrounding area, as it's replacing a failed septic system with a new Title V compliant system. Thank you.
Charlotte, have you been to the site? Do you have anything to report?
Yep, yeah, I went to the site, and previously, before I went to the site, I discussed with Morse Engineering that, this location is definitely the most ideal given the restrictions of the site. If you look on the front of the site map, there's a handful of trees and bushes that are all in front of the front yard, so that would be a lot to remove. There's also a lot of ledge on the property, and then as you can see, we're very close to the, wetland resource area in the backyard, so going to the site, I did see the test pit data. You could see evidence of test pit dug out. So you could tell they did a lot of test pits in the area. And yeah, I do have pictures to share if anyone wants to see visuals.
Okay, if we need visuals, we'll look at them in a bit. Unless someone would like to see the pictures.
Yeah, I'd like to see some of the pictures.
Okay.
We can just go through them quickly.
Sure. Jeff, can I share my screen real quick?
Yes.
So this is the right side of the house going to the backyard. And this is the tree around which the septic system will be installed. On the site plan, it says it might need to be removed if necessary. And then this is the area where the septic system is going to go on the back right side of the yard. This is just some of the background. It's up against a fence. And then you can see that they've done some of the test pits already. And then that's an existing shed. And then I just took a lot of pictures of the lot line markers and the location to the wetlands flags. You can see them that are clearly visible in the backyard. There is evidence of frozen water back there too. And then those are the test pits done on the left side of the yard.
Charlotte, just to clarify, because I was looking at the notes there, you said it was indicated that there was not another option to put the septic, like the front wouldn't work because of ledge. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, at least in the front, there's a lot of, here, I'll go back all the way to the beginning. There's a lot of vegetation in the front. And then the engineer said there was a lot of ledge too. That would be difficult. So here, let me go back to my pictures in the front yard. So this is the driveway, and then you have all this existing vegetation here, and then this is the front yard. So it's a little tight, all the trees and existing driveway. And it's right up against South Main Street. And then, yeah.
Call from.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for the pictures?
No questions. I assume, I haven't looked at the test pit data, but I assume the test pit data is sufficient enough to hold this leaching field. So I don't have any issues.
Glad to see you're putting in a denitrifying system, Jeff. Was that were you required to do that, or was that elected by the landowner?
It was elected by the landowner.
Great.
The benefit is that you need a treatment tank in order to do a drip system, which helps eliminate mounds. So, somewhat coincidental, but it was chosen by the property owner.
Great.
Jeff, do you have a section of the drip system?
We do. So this is it right here.
And how
So
many
the
feet
drip
of
system
groundwater
is
is it?
basically just it's a 1/2 inch perforated pipe that runs back and forth about 6 inches below the surface.
Okay. And how far above groundwater?
2 feet minimum.
Okay, and that's why you don't have to mount.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So the great thing about, well, a traditional system, you have 4 feet to the bottom of the system, which Board of Health will often waive to 3 feet to eliminate a mound. But then the system's about 1 foot tall, and then a foot of cover. So you end up with about 5 to 6 feet to finished grade.
Yeah.
And with a drip system, you can get that down to 2.5 feet. So you can almost always eliminate someone having a big mound in their yard. The net to it is, it's a lot more money up front. And there's also a yearly inspection, actually 2 inspections, one for the tank, one for the field. So it's about, I think it's about $800 a year for inspections.
Okay. Can you go back to the plan for a minute?
Yeah.
So the existing tank is being crushed, as it says,
Yes,
and so the existing pipe will just be extended through that area? Or
Correct,
will
yeah.
it'll be new from where the tank is around to the back, or how's that done?
yeah, they'll probably replace the tank, and replace the pipe from about halfway back to the house to the tank at a minimum. If they find it's old and in poor condition, they would replace the entire pipe.
But that tank's gone. It's just.
Yeah, this tank, well, the existing one is right here. It's a
Oh, I
little
see.
more
One,
gray.
okay.
That one will be gone, and then the new one right next to it.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, whenever there's enough space, we put the new tank not on top of the old one. That way you don't have to take the property out of service. So, the plumbing will work other than, 10 minutes, 20 minutes.
Okay. Well, I'd just like to say that, typically the bushes out front wouldn't negate going the other direction on this one. I mean, if this were a new system, I think that, well, I certainly would be in favor of going to the right side of the house, but since work has to be done on the other side anyway, in order to abandon the old tank and you're coming around that way anyway. That's the reason I feel that we could entertain the idea of a variance in this case.
Yeah, to elaborate on that, we did consider the front and the side. The front yard would certainly be very tight, but what it doesn't show is there's a gas line and a water service in that area, making it more tight. And then over on the side, test pit 5 on this end of the test pit where the field would have to go, we hit ledge at 14 inches. So didn't have the soil to support it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that it sounds like you have explored all the options, Jeff, so I commend you for that. And this is the only area it can go in. The disturbance in the 50s, going to be covered up anyway. And this is obviously a significant environmental improvement from a cesspool or non-existent septic system that's actually in place now. So this is an improvement all around.
Any other comments? Okay, any conditions?
I don't have any. Jay Pimpari would like to make a motion to issue a variance for work within the 50 at 172 South Main Street.
I have a second.
Trish Grady, second.
We heard a motion to second to issue a variance at 172 South Main Street for work within the 50-foot buffer. Take a roll call vote. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, aye.
Trish Grady,
Trish Grady, aye.
Jay Pimpari,
Jay Pimpari, aye.
Chris McFarland, aye. The issuance of variance passes 4-0-0.
Jay Pimpari will make a motion to issue an order of conditions for the work at 172 South Main Street.
Second.
Having heard a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions with no special orders for 172 South Main Street in response to NOI 22-02. Take a roll call vote. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, aye.
Trish Grady,
Trish Grady, aye.
Jay Pimpari,
Jay Pimpari, aye.
Chris McFarland, aye. That vote passes 4-0-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. our next hearing this evening, read it into public record for 400 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. In accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Cohasset Wetland Bylaw, and the Cohasset Stormwater Bylaw, the Cohasset Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Thursday, January 20th, 2022, starting at 6:30 p.m. via remote participation on a Zoom platform for a RDA 22-02 at 400 Chief Justice Cushing Highway for a water quality structure.
I don't see Mr. Stasko or George Morgan in the audience unless the phone number is either one of those people calling in.
If anyone here is to represent the applicant on this project, if you could raise your hand in the attendees. Well,
I can share my screen to go through the form.
no, we need an applicant here. Let's give him. I'll give him 2 minutes.
Okay.
We started a little late ourselves tonight, so we'll give them a couple minutes and see if someone shows up.
Mr. Chair, do you want to do the minutes of approval to not delay any time frame here? Jump back?
I think 2 minutes is enough time. We just I mean, the alternative is we move them later in the meeting if they show up, but or we can just continue it.
Move it to the end of the meeting, and then if they don't show up, continue it.
All right, let's do that then. Then we'll just move on to the next hearing. So we're going to move RDA 22-02 to the end of the meeting, and we'll see if anyone from the applicant shows up. Our next item on the agenda this evening is a stormwater permit 21-43 for 279 North Main Street. This was a raise and rebuild an existing dwelling, and this hearing was continued from January 6, 2022. So Jeff Hassett is back again to tell us what's going on.
All right,
Mr.
thank you, Chris.
Chairman, just for the record, Jay Pimpari was absent for this hearing. However, Charlotte, I know I sent you something over for 580 Jerusalem. I also listened to the tape on this and have signed the affidavit there. I will send that over to you that I listened to the tape and ready to present or listen to the hearing tonight.
Thanks, Jay.
Okay, so I presented this project to you at the hearing 2 weeks ago. It's a project to raise and reconstruct a single-family home. There are no wetlands in the vicinity, so it requires a stormwater permit only. The only comment that you had was that you wanted to see test pits in the areas of the two drywall systems in the backyard to verify that we had adequate separation to ledge and or groundwater. So we did that. We brought out a mini excavator. We dug one test pit here and another one here. We got down about 6 feet without hitting refusal. The test pit logs are on the plan here. And we added the elevations of groundwater to the elevation table. Before it did have elevations for groundwater, but they were assumed based on the test pits in the vicinity that were done previously for the septic here. So no plan changes. We just, the test pits verified our assumptions.
Okay. Any comments from commissioners?
Jeff, could you put up the map of your subcatchments, please?
I can, give me 1 second.
Sure.
Okay, actually, I'm working remotely and I don't have that on my, on this computer.
Well, you can
Um,
probably answer my questions anyway. I was looking at those and don't see an explicit item for either the patio or the walkways there. It says they're pervious, but there's no curve number assigned to them, no area. They don't look like they went into your average area for catchment 3D. Could you explain how you dealt with that? 3D?
Yeah, they're lumped in with the lawn and landscaping because they'll have a similar CN value. We do provide a detail for those pervious pavers
Yeah.
on the plan.
What are they made of, and what sort of, how are they bedded?
So you have the pavers with joints between them, and then 2 inches of 3/8 inch stone, and then a 5-inch reservoir of 3/4 inch.
Okay, there's no rock dust then to bed them in, right?
What's
Stone
that?
dust. You're not using stone dust to bed compacted stone dust under them, are you?
No, they're within that 3/8 inch stone.
Okay, all right. That's all I needed to know.
Thank you, Tom. Any other questions?
Question, on the site map, it does look like there's wetlands just on the other side of the train tracks. Is that in your, in your maps? Not on this, on your stormwater application, the site locus map, and I was just looking on the Mass DEP website. Can you show us that, or can you just?
I wasn't aware of wetlands on the other side of the railroad tracks. You said they show up on Mass GIS, so?
Yes. And use their measuring tool, and it looks as though it's within 100 feet. It's a wooded swamp, deciduous wooded swamp, and is what it's noted as.
Good evening, everyone.
Kathy.
Feet.
Where are the railroad tracks in comparison to this? I'm not looking at any map, so I'm just asking a general question here.
Okay, so the railroad tracks are right here. And then,
You're not sharing, Jeff.
oops. So directly behind the house, the property abuts up to the railroad tracks, which are run here. And then GIS shows potentially a wetland on the other side of the railroad tracks in this area.
Yeah, and the buffer would extend, actually nick the southwest corner of the house, it looks like.
Hmm.
I mean, those are state delineated wetlands, and of course they expire after 3 years, but that's certainly something you should have noticed and sent a wetland scientist over there to investigate, I would think.
Hmm. Yeah, I've been on the property and I didn't see any wetlands, although it's a little bit of a distance away, down and up the hill.
Yeah,
So I can't
it's
say
on the other side of the
definitively.
tracks. It's on the other side of the railroad tracks.
Right.
Right up against the bed.
Right. So we can certainly add those to the plan and show the buffers to them. I don't think anything would change because it looks like we're just at the verge of potentially within 100 feet of them. But it could require an RDA or an NOI filing.
Yeah, it looks like you might be in the within the outer buffer. Let me look at yeah, might be close, Jeff, but certainly your infiltration chambers, particularly the one on right where your cursor is, just above your cursor, that one looks like it's probably in the 100-foot buffer, and also the other one, perhaps.
So I don't have a copy of the map here, but what I'm hearing is it sounds like this is more of an administrative issue, not so much a technical issue. I don't think it would impact the stormwater calculations whatsoever, but as Jeff just mentioned, it could trigger an NOI or might be as simple as an RDA if there was minimal disturbance, depending on where the wetland was.
Chris or Tom, can either of you, based on what you're looking at, can you estimate the distance of the wetland from the property line?
Yeah, I can measure it. It is, hang on a second here. Get my measurement tool here. To the property line. Well, yeah, hang on a second, 1 second. To the property line, it's got to go to feet. Hang on a second. Yeah, to the property line, it's about 47 or 48 feet, something like
48.
that. Yeah. I mean,
So we're saying the 100-foot buffer is somewhere about. Sorry, I cheated you, Jeff.
It nicks the southwest corner of the house and then pretty much goes due east and west and leaves the property at the corner, the eastern corner of the property.
So something like that would be the 100-foot buffer?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the 50 just extends just past the railway right of way by just a few feet.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I see based on GIS, the limit of work is about 90 feet from the wetland shown on GIS, which are very approximate. Based on the contours, if you look at the contour map, I suspect it's a little bit further back, and we could find that the work's all outside of the 100-foot buffer. Either way, I don't think the design would change, but so I would suggest moving forward with the stormwater permit, and we'll have that line delineated, added to the plan, reviewed with Charlotte, and if it's determined that the work is within the buffer zone, then we'll follow up and come back with either an RDA or an NOI filing.
So you're proposing to start work before you've done this, or I kind of missed the.
I'm proposing to move forward with a stormwater permit, and then we'll get that delineated. We'll add it to that line to the plan, and review it with Charlotte. If the work is within the 100-foot buffer, then we'll follow up with the proper filing. So
Jeff, is there an expected time frame on when you wanted to start the construction for this?
Not that I'm aware of.
So it's not gonna happen in the next 2 weeks.
No.
Given that I'm okay with that approach. We're in the middle of the winter and I don't see that that's gonna happen. You could also condition the stormwater permit such that that a wetland delineation be performed out there.
Is there any advantage to getting the stormwater permit tonight, or could we just continue it and just add the NOI onto it?
Yeah, it just adds potentially another hearing if we find that it's not necessary.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying if in fact the
If it's 101 feet, then this is a moot point.
Right.
correct.
Yeah.
So does anyone have a concern for, I mean, it's a, does anyone have a concern for the infiltration areas within the 100-foot buffer?
You know, it looks like James Brook runs through here. Maybe I'm in the wrong spot. Hang on a second. I'm trying to.
I don't, given the grade of going downhill in the steep drop off and then having train tracks, which is a much more of a major disturbance to that wetland than the septic tank probably will ever be. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, the septic's outside the, I don't think it's the septic, right? It's just two infiltration areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll note that DEP requires the infiltration to be 50 feet from a wetland, and we're clearly 50 feet.
Right.
Yeah.
I think this is an administrative issue that can be dealt with.
So yeah, there's a swale here that just feeds directly into James Brook. And I mean, I agree that the infiltration is probably not going to be an issue, but James Brook is our water supply. And looks like the railroad tracks were put right through this. Looks like probably in the past, before the green bush went in, it probably, this little swale continued kind of northwest as a stream, maybe probably an ephemeral stream, but still, no doubt there's still groundwater flow underneath the tracks, and it could be an issue. I mean, it is a septic system here, right? It's not the stormwater that maybe is what concerns me as much as we are talking about a septic system here, right, Jeff?
No, the septic system was installed a couple years ago, and that's going to remain in place.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're really only talking about the two roof drywall systems.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a wetland. It eventually does feed into James Brook, but the setback is still 50 feet for an infiltration system, and we're well beyond that.
And we're basically talking about roof drainage, correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
Clean drainage.
my recommendation would be to, given that this is just roof runoff going to under infiltration chamber, and it may be that we're actually outside the 100-foot buffer. We're not even sure where it is. I would make a motion to issue the stormwater permit for 279 North Main Street with a specific condition that a wetland delineation be performed. And if the infiltration chamber, or I should say, if the disturbance is within the 100-foot setback to the resource area, then the applicant file either an RDA or notice of intent application to supplement this application.
And further, that no work be started prior to that completing that first condition.
Yes, and that,
Just without saying.
thank you, Tom, and no work be completed prior to the wetland delineation being
Initiated.
performed.
No work initiated.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, having heard a motion and a second to issue a stormwater permit with conditions for 279 North Main Street, stormwater permit 21-43. We'll take a roll call vote. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, aye.
Trish Grady,
Chris, I actually have to abstain because I didn't hear the 1.6 YouTube video yet. Sorry.
Kathy, were you here for this entire discussion?
I wasn't for the entire, I don't think so. I mean, I came in,
We're still okay if you abstain.
but I was here for the.
No, we're not okay if she abstains. Because Trish just recused herself.
We have me, you, and Tom.
That's only
So we
3.
have 5 voting members. If we have 3 voting members,
Oh,
three
okay.
yays will still, it'll be 3-0-2.
All right, very good. So Jay, vote please.
Jay Pimpare, yes, vote to approve.
Okay, and Chris McFarland says yay. So that vote passes 3-0-2.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
we'll look forward to hearing more. Okay, next item on the agenda is show cause hearing for tree removal and tree and vegetation removal at on Sawyer Street, the gas station on Sawyer Street.
And we have Wayne Sawchuk, and this is his property. Hey, Wayne.
Hello, folks. Charlotte has some pictures that I'd like to show of the area that I did some work in. And I did no digging, cutting, or the 5 things that I'm not allowed to do: removed, filled, dredged, or altered the resource area. I merely cut some briars down. There was one pine tree 5 inches in diameter that had the top broken off of it that I cut off. That was the only tree that I cut. I had desired to cut some vines that go up to the telephone pole that I'll show you in a moment with the pictures. Charlotte, do you have the ability to put those on?
Yeah, sorry, they weren't loading, but I can share my photos and then I'll share the email with that had some of the photos. So I can come back to these fallen trees, but this was the vehicle on site at the gas station when I got an anonymous call that there was some tree activity on Sawyer Street near the gas station. And then this is the view from Sawyer Street. You can see that there's some briar that was, kind of cut and put in a pile. And then zooming in a little, zooming in a little to this photo, you can see that there are, there's a cut tree here. You can see the logs in the background, and then I'm not sure if you guys can see it here, but there's a pink wetlands flag that's kind of near the proximity. And I think this is Wayne, did you say this is a second tree or was this a bush? Looks like there's 2 cut.
Yeah. They both had damage. I didn't realize there were 2. I thought there was just the one here on the left-hand side, but
Okay.
that. Yeah, if you take it out a little further.
Mhm.
One photo shows the edge of the road here. So, and this is it is in the buffer zone clearly. And the purpose of this was to get my pickup truck on there and be able to take away that brush. But there's some pictures of the trees if we can.
Yeah.
Not, yeah.
Oh, the fallen trees, is that what?
Yeah, the 2 things. One, the telephone poles, and
Like these ones that were right up against the back of the gas station?
yes, like this here. This is what I wanted to remove because it's causing problems with the remaining branches that are still up there and stuff. And I tried thinking about getting a crane, but I can't. And I may still have to do something like that, but I'd have to do that and get a police detail and have it go off the street. But these particular oak trees are massive. So they go up quite a bit. Okay, so that was what my intent was to be able to take that out and use it for firewood, but not to disturb anything else. And the one thing that's missing is if you look, that's.
Wayne, are those trees still
is-
right there that we see at like a 45-degree angle?
Yeah, right. It's the
Yeah.
right. The
They're
broken
still out
branch
there
here
today?
and the trees. And this was a typical thing of the whole tree with the stump came over, and I was not going to remove the stump or anything like that, but just the fallen trees, and to get it off of this situation up above on the top right.
So basically, you want to get those trees out of there.
Correct. And then, like I said, right at the street, this is 3.5 acres of land that I've owned for 35 years and never done anything to it. So I've and I don't have any intention at the present time to do anything other than to take care of what I think is just a bad situation with the vegetation. And then the only other thing is right by the entrance going into the gas station. This is it here. Now, if you look up above the top of the picture, you're seeing the vines and everything in the wires, and that's something that I wanted to cut down. And I own the land that has the briars and stuff on it, and it's almost impossible to do this easily. But I was just going to cut it below it. I was thinking about bringing my backhoe up and putting my feller on top of the machine right from the grass line and cut that. The electric company and telephone company aren't cooperative in cutting branches off of on private property now. That I'm having a difficult time getting them to do anything. So my thought was if I cut the branches down below and cut them as high as I can reach, the rest of it will die, and then they'll come off of the wires. So so the clearing I did was the only thing I wanted to do, and there's the pavement and stuff. So it actually goes uphill, so I'm not disturbing any water going into the ground. On the right hand side, on the bottom, on the right of the tree with the stump on it, and if you and this was just another shot from across the street. I was going to pick those are 90% briars, which is just like it is with the little marker is on the right, which I couldn't drive through. I couldn't walk through literally. And then are there any other pictures, Charlotte, on going up on this?
Yeah, sorry, these actually the files were really large, and so they didn't all send when I sent an email to myself. But they're a different file type that doesn't allow me to do a preview. So I'm sorry,
Okay.
These are the only ones I was able to put in the email. The rest of them are all kind of X'd out right now.
But basically that's it. So the only thing that I want to do now is just to take the wires, the briars and stuff off of the area where the telephone pole is. And there was a question on whether or not that's an exempt situation this year. That it's not a requirement, I guess, for getting brush and stuff or any vegetation off of wires and trees or against it in a wetland area, because it's more of has, I guess, a little bit more importance, and it's not really disturbing the wetland.
Well,
So
I would think that all these situations, the trees leaning at 45 degrees, the trees and vines on the wire, they all pose a safety issue. And I think from that perspective, I think that anything that can be done to eliminate the possibility of wires coming down, of people getting hurt, is actually something that the commission should consider.
I would second that. I see, looking at pictures like this is a classic example of where, the applicant just needs to, or any homeowner just needs to call the Conservation Commission if there is a tree that's within a buffer zone, and say, hey, this causes a health and safety issue. Either it's down, or it's coming down, or it's just hanging over the wire. I'd like to remove this one particular tree. And so when the situation happens, the conservation agent has the authority to allow that tree or trees to come down if in fact they feel that it's a health and safety issue. And, here, looking at this picture that's up on the screen, clearly it's hanging over. We have enough power outages in Cohasset. We don't have to need to worry about any more for that matter. So I don't have a problem with this old viney little tree there, whatever it is. Looks like it's half dead anyway, just coming down. And in the other trees there, they're already dead. I see you wanting to get them out of there. I would just say, Wayne, that if this situation happens again, just call the Conservation Commission agent in advance so that we don't have to dispute this in a public forum at nighttime.
Thank you.
Do any other commissioners have comments? No. Then, Mr. Sawchuk, I'd just like to say that, well, just reiterate what Jay said. Please give us a call in the future. You own this big piece of property, and obviously what you're trying to do is make it safer and take care of some issues that you think are problematic. And if you can just reach out first, that would be helpful. And then obviously if Charlotte gets a call from someone, as she did in this case, she can respond to it correctly.
Thank you.
All right.
Good luck with the trees.
Thank you very much.
So looking at the attendee list, there are no additional attendees well, there are additional attendees, but none that seem to be representing 400 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. If I'm wrong, please raise your hand immediately, because we're going to continue you to February the 3rd. And I see no one raising the hand, so we will continue 400 Chief Justice Cushing Highway water quality structure to February the 3rd. And we're going to move on from there. Very quickly, we'd like to approve. We have some minutes for approval as next on the agenda. I'm going to run through them individually because different people were present at those meetings. So I'm going to start with April 8th, 2021. Chris, Jay, Kathy, and Trish were at that hearing. Does anyone have any comments about those meeting minutes? Okay, I'd like to, I'm going to make a motion to approve the minutes for April 8th, 2021. Do I have a second?
Second.
Having heard a motion in a second, we'll do a quick roll call. Jay,
Aye.
Kathy,
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Trish,
Trish Grady, aye.
Chris McFarland, aye. Those minutes are approved. For August the 15th, 2021, Chris, Jay, Kathy, Trish, and Tom were all there at that meeting. Does anyone have any comments?
No.
Without comments, I'd make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for August 15th, 2021. Quick roll call, Jay.
Second. And aye.
Oh, sorry.
I'll
yes.
second that, and Jay Pimpare, aye.
Thank you. Kathy,
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Trish,
Trish Grady, aye.
Tom,
Bell, aye.
Chris McFarland, aye. And those meeting minutes passed 5-0-0. Our next set of meetings was November 18th, 2021. We had present were Chris, Jay, Tom, and Kathy. Any comments? No comments. I'd like to make a motion to approve the meetings, the minutes for November 18th, 2021.
I'll second that.
Having heard a motion in a second, roll call vote. Jay,
Jay Pimpare, aye.
Tom,
Bell, aye.
Kathy,
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
and Chris McFarland, aye. Those minutes pass 4-0-0. And lastly, January 6th, 2022. We don't have a, what do I need for a quorum for that?
have 5 voting members, need 3 votes to approve.
Okay, well, we only had, oh, okay, well, we only had 4 people at that meeting. Chris, Kathy, Tom, and Eric. So,
Well, so you need 3 votes for Chris, Tom, and Kathy, as long as they vote to approve it.
okay,
I will abstain, and Tricia will abstain, and it'll pass 3-0-2, if in fact
Okay.
that turns out to be the case.
all right. Any comments on those? I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for January 6, 2022. Do I have a
Second.
second? I got a
Second,
motion and a second. Roll call, Kathy,
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Tom,
Tom Bell, aye.
Chris McFarland, aye. That vote passes 3-0-2. Actually,
if you
3-0-0.
are abstain.
Yeah, you weren't there. Okay. All right, the next item on our
Chris,
agenda is.
excuse me. Chris,
Yes.
excuse me. I think when you were talking about the minutes for July 15th, 21, I think you were saying August 15th, 21. But it should be July, the
Yeah,
agenda.
you're
says-
right. You're
Okay,
right.
just for,
Thank you for that correction. Okay, our next item on the agenda is a certificate of compliance, the stormwater permit at 19-22 at 580 Jerusalem Road. This came before us the last 2 meetings. We had a third-party review. I'm going to invite, I saw Weston and Sampson. Oh, they're there. You already elevated them to participant. I'd just like them to give us a quick synopsis of their third-party review and
Chris, would you like, we have, I believe we have the applicant and the engineer from Hardy and Mann also on the phone. Would you
yeah,
like
why
to-
don't you elevate them to panelists as well, please?
And we also have the realtor Roxanne. Should we promote her as well, or?
I don't believe she's
Okay.
necessary as part of this discussion, but if she proves to be the case, she can
Sure.
write us in the chat box. We'll elevate her if necessary. So for the record, may I ask the participant from Weston and Sampson to state their name and give us a little synopsis of the third-party review, please?
Absolutely. Good evening, Chair McFarland, and good evening to other members of the Conservation Commission. Let me share the present. I have a presentation. Let me share that with you.
Thank you.
That should be visible now.
It is. Thank you.
Great. Okay, I'll take you through that quick synopsis. So,
Could I just ask you for your name, please?
oh, sure. James Reardon.
Thank you,
from,
James.
Yep, team manager or team leader from Weston and Sampson. So this is obviously regarding 580 Jerusalem Road and the stormwater modeling peer review. Our primary focus in the peer review, which we provided, I believe it's dated the 19th, was on stormwater and the modeling related to the stormwater at the site, pre and post condition. The site is in total is about 24,000 square feet. That is essentially the lot area. Pre-existing, there was impervious surface of about 2,329 square feet. That's really just the home. There was also some bedrock outcrop and things of that nature. That becomes important in the modeling a little bit later on. Proposed home expansion initially of 2,957 square feet. And a driveway, deck, and garage of 5,892 square feet for a total of 8,849 square feet. However, the as-built condition was about 200 square feet greater than that. The owner expanded a little bit over the what was approved for them to do. So as part of our review, we considered the following standards: Cohasset's bylaws, the Mass DEP stormwater standards, which are of course required under the bylaws and also by state law. The Massachusetts DEP Hydrology Handbook for Conservation Commissions. This is used essentially as guidance, and it also requires use of the stormwater standards. So really, these things are somewhat one and the same. We received the following materials. These were emailed to us by your conservation agent, Charlotte Bechtel, and we received them on January the 10th. These are listed in our peer review as well. So I'm not going to go over them individually, but just for the sake of context, these are the materials that we looked at. This shows the pre and post construction conditions at the site based on the as-built designs and the existing conditions. And you can see on the left-hand side, believe you should be able to see my cursor, that this was the pre-existing home. So this was the pre-construction impervious surface. At post-construction, it included this home with with appurtenances and this driveway, this sort of U-shaped driveway. All of this obviously is impervious surface. You can see in Google Earth images prior to the construction and post-construction that we use to determine. We'll get into this a little bit later, but we used to determine that the pre-existing conditions that were reflected in the design and the as-built design, appeared to be accurate and reliable. So our peer review summary, this is related to some key issues that were raised previously about the site in this particular project. So TR20, or Technical Report 20, is an appropriate tool for stormwater modeling at the site, and this is what was used. The updated pre and post-development impervious surface calculations, those appear to be appropriate. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we confirmed them using Google Earth. We did not feel that a site visit was needed, and so we did not conduct one. We did note as part of this that there was impervious area outside the property line, and that was not included in the design calculations or the modeling. We would recommend that the town consider resolving this discrepancy with the planning board and zoning boards, as well as the town engineer, since it involves town property and it involves both planning and zoning issues. We understand, and we noted this in the peer review, that there is an intent on the part of the town that this applicant go back to the planning board and the zoning board, given that they exceeded their property boundary. So this would probably be a good place to try and resolve this issue. Appropriate sizing and installation of the Coltech chambers, those are the infiltration chambers that were used at the site, should be confirmed by the engineer and owner. We didn't have in the materials sizing that was used as input values for the modeling, and that should be looked at to ensure that what was actually installed out there is providing the volume of treatment and storage that's necessary. Runoff rates and volumes were modeled accurately for the input values that we saw. Those appeared to be correct. The modeling results appeared to be correct. Curve numbers and rainfall data inputs, those also appear to be appropriate. Pre and post total runoff areas. So there was this issue that we noted in looking at the areas that were modeled. There's a difference from the pre and the post condition of 3,145 square feet for what was referred to as the total site area. You may recall from an earlier slide that the difference in impervious surface was only about 200 square feet. So, so we had a little bit of difficulty understanding that. We also noted that the total site area that was modeled was about 72,000 square feet, 1.673 acres. And the property is only 24,000 square feet, give or take. So we would like that the engineer explain what they're using as their definition for, you know, we abbreviated it TRA, total runoff area, and explain to us and to you folks, you know, why these numbers don't appear to match the site. And that is our peer review, the major points from it. Thank you.
So, Mr. Reardon, if I understand you right, you haven't shown what the actual numbers for the runoff model that you prepared were, at least in your summary. Do they meet the standard or don't they?
So we didn't remodel. We didn't conduct modeling. What we did was review the modeling that they provided. We think that in general, the way they went about modeling this made sense and followed industry standard. But as we noted in the presentation and in the peer review itself, there were several discrepancies. Probably the most significant of those would be related to the impervious surface that was not included in the model because it appeared to be on town property. That would, if I were, you know, if I were you folks looking at this, that would be my most significant concern.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Hardy, would you like to, I know you've had a chance to look at the third-party review prior to tonight's meeting. I'm just wondering if any of these points that Mr. Reardon brought up, if you have any comments towards them.
Yeah, I can. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sean Hardy with Hardy and Man Design Group. As far as the confirming the installation, I believe we had forwarded pictures of both the front and the rear systems going in. So I can confirm that the appropriate number of chambers and the correct amount of stone has been installed around there. And you know, we went around after and checked to make sure that the roof leaders that were supposed to be going to each systems are actually going in those directions. So I'm confident with that. The issue about the total runoff area, I can go into that. I think it's a pretty easily explained thing, and I'm gonna, I guess, share my screen. I think I have that ability. I do. Can you see that? No?
No, try again.
Okay. There.
Coming up, yes.
Okay, so this is the Hydrocad model that you guys have before you. Instead of doing and saving it as multiple different files, so we have one subcatchment which is existing. We have the as-built whole site over here, just for comparison purposes on the, just because of the way your stormwater summary wanted us to note the percentages and curve number change of the whole site. Then we break down further in here. So we have as-built front to infiltration, as-built back and garage to infiltration, as-built no infiltration, other subcatchments. So if I go to the next page, you'll see those same things again. So existing was 24,298 square feet. As-built front to infiltration is just that front portion of the house that's getting to that front infiltration is 1,586 square feet. The back and the garage roof area is 2,615 square feet. And if I go down to as-built, no infill, that's the rest of the site. So that's 20,097 square feet. So if you add the 20,097 plus 2,615 plus 1,586, that again equals that 24,298. And then this other, again, for the whole catchment is that 24,298. It's just because they're all presented there, but when the table gets populated, in the end, this reach 6R, which is what's leaving the site. So these catchments go to infiltration, this goes to infiltration, this just comes off the site. 6R is the summary of what all of those are being fed to and modeled as, and that represents what's leaving the site as a comparison. So that's why down here with that total runoff area, it's counting all of these. So it's basically counting that 24,298 three times. It's just a number, it's part of the program that is generated. It would not do that. If I just did an existing and ran a model and just had that on its own separate sheet and then ran as built whole site separate for comparison, and then each of these as their own model, to me, I do it this way because it's all right here on one sheet. When you're going through it, it's easy to review and see what it is you're looking at. Those numbers, as far as, you know, the runoff area, the impervious, the curve number, then you get the volume and the rate of the runoff here, and it's all on one page so that you can compare it on the 2-year storm and be able to see for comparison purposes. These numbers down here, I think are less important to the model. They don't really tell much of the story, because if you go to these next pages of the model, so like existing gives this area, it gives the impervious, it gives all those percentages that this number just tries to summarize for the whole project in general. So I think that is the answer to that, and hopefully the engineer would agree with that. I think the other question about, you know, the improvements that were done off-site.
Can we just, sorry, can I just stop right there and just ask the engineer, Mr. Reardon, for any comments to that argument?
Yeah, so thank you for that question, and I guess through the chair, that seems like a sensible explanation and helps out a good bit.
Okay, thank you.
As far as the improvements that were made off-site, I don't know how necessarily the town's going to handle it. I do believe that Mr. Hansel has to go before planning, because some of that encroachment, I think, was trees that were cut within the right of way. And some of the retaining walls as well. So he is going before those other boards, and I think whether those improvements can stay or cannot stay. I do know, and it was an issue that's raised, I guess, through one of the members in a previous comment, and I think that the peer review caught it as well. Assessor's records show this lot to be larger than it is when it's surveyed. It appears that the assessor's records are based off, so when you read the deed, it lists 2 separate parcels, and when you add them up, it equals what that larger area is that the assessors gave it. I forget whether it was like 0.63 acre. It's almost 3,000 square feet difference, I think. But when you continue to read the deed, it does say that those 2 parcels are what comprise 580 Jerusalem Road, but then it says excluding There's two small areas that were at one point transferred to a parcel in the back. And then more importantly, Jerusalem Road was widened early in the 1900s. And that is the difference. So when the question was raised by one of the members, we went back to the surveyor and had him double check, and he pulled out the taking plan and the deed and all of that and confirmed. So the area that we're showing, that 24,298, or I think is what it is the area as surveyed and confirmed by deed when you continue on and read the parcel from the widening of Jerusalem Road and some of the transfers that happened in the rear. It just seems that I guess never got to the assessors, which I suppose technically means that the property owner's been paying a bunch more in taxes for a significant amount of time based on that, but that's the explanation.
Commissioners, does anyone have any comments, questions?
The only remaining comment I have, and it sounds like it may have been addressed, but I have not seen it yet, was the from the Weston and Sampson report, was verifying the installation and the sizing of the infiltration chambers, etc. And I don't know, I haven't seen that data anywhere or any of the pictures. I don't know, Charlotte, if you've seen it, please let me know. But
Yeah,
if there are pictures of that, or an invoice from the manufacturer that says that those properly sized infiltration chambers were delivered to the site, and then we see a picture of them in the ground, that would be good enough for me. But it sounds like that was a finding from the third-party review. So I'd like to follow up on that.
Jay, I can jump in a little bit, and Sean, feel free to add anything I miss. We did receive photos of the front and rear infiltration chambers. I believe the front ones were taken from the contractor. I can't recall if Hardy and Manor and the contractor also took pictures of the rear infiltration chambers. Those are also sent to the third-party reviewer. But from the pictures, at least, I don't know if we can tell, with the gravel going in on top of them, I don't know if we can tell the exact, size and volume of the chambers themselves. So yeah, like an invoice and stuff, I don't think we've received yet, but we do have pictures confirming that chambers did go in the front and the back.
And I did not take the pictures. I had the contractor take the pictures and send them to me, but I can see from the pictures, it's the correct numbers. I can tell that they're the correct size. You can see the stone bedding going in. The hole is more than adequate wide. So the stone from the outer, surrounding stone is there. Additionally, I was on the site while, if you recall, that the cleanouts had not been installed, or the observation ports had not been installed back, I think, 2 meetings ago. And that was one of the things that I had said I wanted to see, in addition to making sure that those roof leaders were, you guys had said wanted those all to be installed. I needed to have those observation ports get installed. So when they put those in, I was on the site, so I can confirm that the depth of stone above the chambers as well is also adequate per the design.
I do see them now, Charlotte, on the OneDrive. I don't know if you wanted to share. I'm happy to share my screen and just
I was gonna
show
say,
those.
you can share whatever's easier.
If you have it right there, if not, I can do it quickly.
Sure. Yeah. So these are the infiltration photos that we received. So this is before they went in. This is right before they're about to be completely covered. And then those are the ones from.
So that's the back of the house, correct?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
And then I pull up the front ones. So the front ones are a little bit. I don't know if we have as many photos of like this one that we're showing it here, but these are the ones in the front. So as you can see, they're covered at this point, but this is the front yard, and so this is the after.
Okay. A picture is worth 1,000 words.
And those files are enormous. I couldn't open them, so that's why I had this long.
So it looks like from the construction area, you put the front chambers in before before you started framing the house, and the back ones went in after the framing of the house.
Yes, because the front of the house, some of the grading that was happening in and around the back was after the fact. So they put those front ones in first because they needed to get in there for the walkway and the driveway to be able to access the site.
Okay. Makes sense.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Reardon.
So if I could through the chair, so we did have those pictures, but looking at the pictures, I think it was in the back of the house where you had the best view of the chambers. You know, maybe we're missing it somehow, but we didn't see any model numbers or anything of that nature. So it's difficult to identify whether those were really the ones that have been spec'd out.
So the invoices should establish whether they are or whether they aren't.
I would totally agree with that.
Is there documentation out there? I'm going to address that to Sean, whether or not there's an invoice or something available from the manufacturer to confirm that those are the proper infiltration chambers.
I assume I cannot, so I didn't buy them. I'm assuming Mr. Hansel, his contractor, probably has that and can provide it.
I think that would give everyone a little bit of comfort here on the situation.
I mean, I just, when the guy's in the hole standing there, that, you know, the size of them and the blue color those are the Caltech chambers. So there's enough there that gives me the level of comfort, but I can see that you guys might want some more information. Seems Mr. Hansel's on now. I don't know if he has something to.
Yes, yeah. No, basically we purchased what was spec'd on a plans, and I don't have that invoice here. I can probably get it because the contractor from Idaho excavation purchased that, and I can request it from him. But I know he bought everything what was spec'd on a plan, and he did it based on a plan.
Okay. Tom, do you have any comments on the third-party review or any other concerns?
No, I thought it was well done. I think I would have liked to see the model run again, but I can't imagine that would have made very much difference. But yeah, the third-party review satisfied me. I would say that I had adequate reason to be skeptical of what we were seeing after all the corrections that had been made. It was a moving target from when I first started asking questions about this. The original stormwater permit was issued with faulty information, which is also a good reason to be suspicious. And then we've seen this encroachment on town land that there's a pattern here, maybe.
I would like to say that this is not the first project with encroachment on town land, and maybe as a commission, we should look at that going forward, because people only are responsible for their property, and it seems that all the engineers tend to run the numbers for their property and not that additional bit of land. And we see it in other places as well. So I think it's something that as a commission, we should look at this moving forward.
With respect to the driveway, I'm sure we would have required some sort of infiltration at the base of the driveway before it spilled out onto Jerusalem Road. And because we were shown a plan initially that showed one leg of a driveway and a much smaller driveway, actually, we didn't do that. And we should have had the opportunity to look at, see how large this driveway was, and that none of that water was being infiltrated in any way. And I'm sure we would have asked for, in fact, I know we would, because we've done this in the past. When a steep driveway, a large driveway hits the street, we want to see a grate there. We want to see some infiltration.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you, Tom.
Well, Mr. Reardon, thank you very much for your third-party review. I think it was very beneficial to all of us and gave us a level of comfort.
Thank you, Chair McFarland, and thank you all for requesting our services.
Well, it seems that the outstanding issue is verification that the Caltech chamber are the ones that were specified on the project. I'm willing to entertain a motion here, which would have a condition that was presented to us as proof. I don't know how the rest of the commissioners feel.
I would support that. I think that having seen the pictures of the trenches and seeing the blue Caltech chambers in there gives me certainly more to go on. But I would agree. I would like to see whether it be the invoice or some formal confirmation that the chambers that were installed were the proper chambers per the site plan. And I would make a special condition that information be provided within 3 business days, 3 or 5 business days. So sometime mid next week.
You know, maybe to speed this up, Sean, correct me if I'm mistaken, but the different chambers are different colors, are they not?
No, the Caltech has different models. Their chambers lately, for whatever reason, are now blue. They used to be black with the green line. I don't know why they changed them, but the different size Caltech chambers are the blue chambers. So, but we didn't
Okay,
spec
so it's
large
not,
chamber.
it's not. I mean, there was another job in town just recently, and they were, like you said, they were black. And I just wanted to see if there was the opportunity to verify that your size was created in blue and that we could do it just from a color basis. But if that's not the case, then I think that we'll just have to, as Mr. Pari just said, maybe we'll just, condition this certification, or basically we'd be voting on it, and Charlotte would have to receive some kind of confirmation, a bill of sales to complete the confirmation within 5 business days or something to that effect.
I think we should ask the applicant if that's a sufficient amount of time. If he has to get it from one of his contractors, his contractor may not have as much incentive to get his paperwork together as Mr. Hansel does. So if he needs more time, I think we should extend it.
I'm hoping to get it in the next couple of days, hoping, but it is something what we was purchasing a year and a half ago or something like that, and hopefully we will find it.
So maybe 10 days is necessary, 10 working days. Jay, would that be okay with you?
I would just say, look, given the nature of 10 working days puts us like 2+ weeks from now. So I don't know not that it has any impact on my vote tonight. I don't know what the situation is with the closing as far as how that holds anything up. Again, that doesn't really impact me. I would say, a week from today I'm sure Mr. Hanzel will be on the phone this evening and sending out emails the minute we get off the phone here, or this meeting, to try and follow up and following up all day tomorrow and trying to get that done. So, I mean, it really doesn't matter, but I would just say 7 days.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Well,
And you know, and I would condition it that whether the confirmation of an invoice, a certification, you know, affidavit from the manufacturer, that the confirmation is acceptable to the chair and the agent.
We, some time ago, we inquired to Caltech if they put nameplates that would be visible inside their chambers through the inspection port, and they don't, unfortunately.
And I'm sure if you call Caltech and send them those pictures, they could say, yeah, that's a model ABC, whatever it is.
Actually, it didn't sound like they could do that. I asked just of a very similar question to that.
Well, I'll let the applicant make those phone calls and use their
Yeah, they
time
can
to
figure it
figure
out.
this out.
Sure.
So what I'd like to, we don't need to make a motion on this, do we? Just take a vote to approve this based on the receipt of confirmation that the chambers are correct. Is that right?
Well, we should make a formal motion and a vote on this. So I'm happy to make that motion. One comment that I do want to make, that you know, given all the offsite activities, et cetera, it still sounds like there's some outstanding issues here with zoning and planning. You know, that is not within the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction. Although, as previously mentioned, you know, that in the future, those activities or land that is owned by the town or whatnot should be or should not be included in stormwater calculations, et cetera. But there still sound like there are outstanding issues. It's not within our jurisdiction here with conservation to decide. We're solely looking at the stormwater bylaws. So keep in mind that there may be other boards in this town that may have conditions placed upon any potential approvals moving forward, and that's out of our jurisdiction. So I will make a motion to issue, is this a certificate of compliance, correct?
Correct.
Charlotte? To issue a certificate of compliance to the project at 580 Jerusalem Road with the specific condition that the confirmation of the properly sized Caltech chambers be made by, or be submitted and be submitted to the Conservation Commission and acceptable to the chair and the Conservation Commission agent, and information or confirmation could be in the form of an invoice, affidavit from the manufacturer upon delivery, etc. And again, that confirmation or information be acceptable to the chair and the agent, and that information be submitted within 1 week by tomorrow. We'll close of business tomorrow, which I guess would be January 28th, 2022. Does that sound sufficient?
Sounds good. Do I have a second?
Second.
Having heard a motion, is second to issue a certificate of compliance for 580 Jerusalem Road with the condition as stated. Take a roll call vote. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, aye.
Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Trish Grady,
Trish Grady abstained just because I wasn't here on the 6th.
Jay Pampari,
Dip Pampari, aye.
Chris McFarland, aye. That vote passes 4-0-1. Okay. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Charlotte will be looking for some paper.
Okay, and if we will provide a invoice with all details, it will be enough.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Very good, thank you. Okay. Conservation Commission business. I have no reports for this evening, excuse me. Charlotte, do you have any project updates that
Sorry,
you'd
I was
like to
trying to
share
change-
with us briefly?
Yes.
Tom, you look
sorry.
like you have something to say.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to change people to attendees and, and it got messed up. So I just tried to promote Jay again. Sorry, Jay. But yeah, I can go through these quickly. I don't know if anyone got a chance to look at them in OneDrive, but I have some pending orders of condition and a determination of applicability to issue for the projects that we approved most recently at the 1/6 meeting. I don't think they need a vote, but the deadline is January 27th, and they're for 55 Gammons. We had 3 special conditions, 330 North Main Street for the failed septic system. We had 0 special conditions, and then an amended order of conditions for 68 Whitehead with 1 special condition. And then a determination of applicability for 26 Little Harbor Road, which was a -3 determination, which had 3 special conditions. So yeah, if you guys have any comments for that paperwork in OneDrive, just email me separately, and the deadline to issue those is January 27th. And then I do have some just meeting announcements, in case anyone's interested. We have our legal counsel training on January 24th with our, legal counsel from KMP Law. That'll be Monday, the 24th at 7 o'clock, and the agenda is online. So hopefully you guys can all attend. And we also have the Harbor Climate Resilience meeting, which will be, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, Tuesday, January 5th at 7 o'clock, and Tom will actually be a speaker. So if you guys can join in, that'll be wonderful.
Well done, Tom. Knock him dead.
What time is
Not
that?
done yet.
What time is that?
January 25th at 7 o'clock. So yeah. And then I just have my project updates. Do you want me to go through those quickly, Chris?
Yes, please.
Sure. So some of these are old. I apologize, because in December we didn't have a meeting. But 44 Border Street, we received the final inspection report from Merrill Engineering. We didn't have a special condition to present it in any way, but it's in OneDrive. So if you guys have any questions and we would like Merrill to come, just let me know. As far as Merrill is concerned, the work to repair the seawall was done above the water line. So they have pictures from this summer and I believe September. And so that's all in the report if you guys have any questions. For construction updates,
While you're on 44 Border Street,
Mhm.
One of the conditions of the building permit was a valid Chapter 91, which I don't believe they actually have. Now, obviously, construction has taken place, but so I don't know. It's not at this point. It's not in our jurisdiction, but I think it's important to note that they don't have a valid Chapter 91, and maybe we can look into that at some point.
Okay. Yeah, I keep kind of looking into that, and based on the Chapter 91 documentation that I have at this time, I didn't see anything specific to seawalls, but I can keep looking. So yeah, that's definitely a pending item.
Well, they do have a Chapter 91,
Mhm.
but it is for a different use.
Right. Yeah, that's how,
And-
at least
and-
to the documentation that I have kind of says that. So I don't know if they have something different that maybe we just don't have at this time. And then speaking of 44 Border, in case anyone's seen it, there is a fence around Atlantica right now. So just want to give everyone a heads up. I'm sure you guys have probably heard about it. We don't have, at least the town doesn't have anything solid at this time that's been submitted to the boards, but I do know there's, there's a website, I think, that's on the fence postings. And the website doesn't have much right now, but we'll definitely be keeping an eye on it. And, I'm sure it'll be making its rounds to the boards in the future. For 87 and 124 Elm Street, they are looking into setting up a pre-construction visit with me in the near future. So I'll keep you guys updated on that one. I believe they are waiting on their Chapter 91 license. They, I think, have a demo permit from the building inspector, but they are waiting on the license to start construction. So that is another big project that'll be coming soon.
What was the address on that one again?
Sure, it's 87 and 124 Elm Street.
The hotel.
Oh, yeah.
So Charlotte, we issued an order of conditions and a stormwater permit for that project.
Correct.
The DEP modified the plans during the issuance of a Chapter 91. So I'd ask that you look into how do they need to give us a new plan for our record? And do we need to, I guess the state has already approved it, so, but I guess I would just caution you to make sure that the DEP plan is noted as superseding what we did.
Sure, yeah, I can look into how do we get that specific documentation. Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, yeah, they because the DEP plan is very rough, so I'm sure the architectural team has redone drawings, and they should go in the file. You should request them for the file.
Okay, will do.
So if the impervious surfaces have changed, we would need to review it again, wouldn't we? In a public hearing?
Yeah, I think it depends on whether or not the changes were minor, moderate, or significant. Minor changes can be administratively approved, and there were a couple changes that Mass DEP presented a few months ago, which at the time, you know, we administratively approved them, but moving forward, those will be brought to you guys for any comments. But yeah, so they were minor changes that didn't add impervious. But other than that, I haven't heard of any other updates to those site plans since that was a couple months ago. I don't think they actually have the Chapter 91 yet. I know they were still waiting on it, so still pending.
Okay.
And then 76 Lambert's Lane. This is an NOI that was issued last year with the stormwater permit. It was for a sports court and a bunch of plantings in the buffer zones and outside of the buffer zones. And so the construction of the sports court is as we understand it, pretty much complete. And the only thing left is to finish some plantings in the spring. So just wanted to let you guys know that that will be finishing up soon. There are a few dock construction projects that are ongoing or about to start. 72 North Main, they recently started construction, had a pre-construction visit about a month ago, and they have their Chapter 91 with no changes that were made. So that is ongoing. And then 51 Gammons Road just recently received their Chapter 91 with no changes to the site plans, and that's in OneDrive if you guys would like to look at it. I recently had a pre-construction visit yesterday. So they want to start construction on that 51 Gammons Road dock within the next couple weeks, and then finish probably later in the spring, summer. And then for 74 and 86 Beach Street, I think I may or may not have given this update, but they had removed all the trees that we specifically issued in a condition to hire a tree specialist to come to the site, look at everything, mark everything on the site plan, update it. So I think I've given those updates in the past, but just wanted to give you guys the follow-up update that the trees were all removed. I went to the site that day to see that, you know, they were taking everything down that we marked with everybody. So that is now done, and I haven't gotten an update yet on the status of the revetment wall, but the dock, they have not started that yet. So that would be another project that's waiting in Chapter 91. The harbor project, the Border Street Bridge, that is at this time not ongoing because it's cold for the shotcrete to go in. So that will ramp up probably in the spring and the summer. 33 Stanton Road is another dock project.
Wait,
that one is.
Before you move off the harbor,
Mm-hmm.
did they ever apply for an RDA?
They did, yes.
They
Yeah.
did. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, this was the project where they had an RDA to repair seawalls in the bridge around the harbor area.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I wasn't there that night. I just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, so the bridge was like definitely the biggest one. They finished the left side, the side furthest away, closest to where the harbor master is. They finished the bottom section of that, but they haven't done the top and the other side closer to the lobster pound. So they definitely have, you know, still a ways to go, but they couldn't continue because it got too cold for the shotcrete to be installed properly. And then this is a little bit of an older update, but we're waiting on a Chapter 91 license for 33 Stanton Road. That's another dock project. So I'll keep you guys posted on that one. 42 Rust Way. You guys may or may not remember this one as lots F and G. They haven't started construction yet, but they are starting soon. I already had a pre-construction visit with them about a month ago. And I can confirm whether or not they are still waiting on a building permit. So that one should start relatively soon. I'm not sure if they're waiting until the spring though. And then I have a couple updates on 3, 9, and 15 Diab Lane. So 9 and 15 Diab Lane have a new owner. So it is no longer Mr. Matthew Shannon. And 3 Diab Lane is owned by somebody else, but 3 Diab Lane, they did say they were going to start, cutting the trees and everything and beginning construction. They said mid-January, so I haven't heard of any updates very recently, but I was out there a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and the erosion barrier is properly installed. I walked around the site. You can see all the markers. And so 9 and 15 may or may not be too far behind, but I'll definitely keep you guys posted when they also have erosion barriers and stuff installed.
Do they have,
Charlotte,
do
just
they have building permits?
What was that?
Do they have building permits?
3 has a building permit, 9 has a building permit, and 15, we did receive some minor changes to site plans. So as soon as I look at those, and we just want to make sure those aren't major changes, I will sign off for the building permit before that can be issued. So 3 has one, 9 has one, 15 pending.
Just a comment. I haven't seen the silt sock installed yet out there, but keep an eye on that project there.
Yeah.
There was a heavy discussion about trees remaining along the Howard Road side there, and once they're down, they're down. So no way of replacing those 80 to 100-year-old trees. So really just keep an eye on that project.
Yeah, if I see any trees that are cut outside of the erosion barrier or any trees that are taken down that we're supposed to stay on the site plan and we're taken down, I'll let you guys know. But yeah, I'm keeping an eye on those because all 3 of those are going to be busy projects, and they're all going to start at different times. We also have construction at 102 and 80 Howe Road.
Before you leave Diab Lane, I know you were at a meeting where different boards were discussing ongoing projects. Zoning mentioned that Diab Lane were questionable buildable lots. If you can ever get updates beyond conservation, just so we're aware of it, it would be helpful.
Yeah.
It'd be good to hear.
No, definitely. Yeah, I didn't hear any recent updates about anything from zoning, but I'll let you guys know. And yeah, just right next door is 80 and 102 Howe Road. 80 is almost done, and at 102, they have some minor changes to some planting some additional trees and taking out some dead trees and fallen trees from the most recent nor'easter in October. So yeah, those, they're definitely replicating 2 to 1 to replace those. But other than that, no other activity yet on 102 High Road. I think they did do the blasting already, which I think I gave a previous update about that. So I'll keep you guys posted on any development for those as well. And then that was it, except I do have one very recent update that I was given a report of some tree cutting on 22 Gammons Road, but I went out there and confirmed with the homeowner that it was a dead tree that had fallen. And they hadn't gone in the buffer zones with any heavy machinery. They kind of just cut it. But at the time, a couple months ago when we had closed out one of their certificates of compliance for an old NOI, they had a dead fallen tree from the storm. And, the previous legal counsel said that it was okay to take it out, but moving forward, obviously we want conservation to know about it, the board itself. So, that was, I just re-educated the homeowner about that. And if they do plan to take down any trees, they have to come to us and or notify me. So moving forward, that won't be an issue, at least when the homeowner understood it. But other than that, I think that's it for project updates. So it was kind of jam-packed with a lot of old updates too.
Anyone on the commission have any 48-hour issues?
Negative.
Charlotte, I mentioned to Jay about a, I don't have an address for you. Atlantic Avenue, just the other side of the bridge from 191.
Mhm.
Kind of a, I don't even know if it has an address. It's a small house, recently sold, and they cleared out, it's sitting on a little peninsula of land, and they cleared out all the understory. They didn't remove any large trees. It was just kind of just clean out all the understory. The only reason I bring it up, I mean, obviously we really don't want people cleaning out all the understory, but bigger issue is that it's a very small house, which they paid a lot of money for. Hopefully they'll get the right people involved, but it might be worth a heads up, you know, this is conservation, you know, these are our bylaws, you should check them out or something like that.
Yeah, I can
Is that
definitely
the
do
one
that.
on is that the one that's on the, just west of the bridge on the Little Harbor side? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an
It's
old boat
across,
house.
it's between, if you cross the bridge going towards Sandy Beach,
Mhm.
you take that immediate left there, that hard left, it's that
Yeah.
little house. It's an older house, looks like it might have been a cottage for years. It's a
Yeah,
beautiful
wow.
piece of property.
Beautiful.
But
Boathouse.
recently sold. Yeah,
It was a
exactly.
boathouse, yep.
And so I did drive by there this afternoon and did notice that some landscapers or someone in there has done some significant cleanup. They have not taken, what I did not witness, any large trees or any trees for that matter down, but it looks like some brush has been pulled out of there. But the house literally sits on the water. I'm sure it's something that's going to be, it's very visible to anyone in town. So many people walk by there and drive by there and bike by there on a daily basis. So something to keep an eye on for sure.
Yes, will do. Thank you. And I will say a lot of the tree removal, you know, are reports that I've received either from neighbors or anonymous callers. So I know it's not just conservation who's aware. There's a lot of people that are watching their neighbors.
Yeah, especially if they don't like them.
Jay, it might be worth, I don't think this is on the list of things to speak with Amy about at training, but I know there was a time where you and, was it Eric, started looking at this whole idea of tree removal? And at what point does it constitute a disturbance over a certain area?
Yeah, well,
It
that's
might-
something that we've dealt with in the past as far as projects coming in front of us. Is somebody going in there and say on forget the wetland issue, on a normal flat parcel of land, the same say an example 2-acre lot, and going in there and clearing out 20 trees. Well, you don't necessarily, if you're not within 100 feet of a wetland and you're taking 3, 4, 5 trees down of 200 trees on a lot, you may not need a permit from Conservation Commission. But 6 months after the trees come down, then they provide a plan that does not show the trees that were already taken down. And it's difficult for us to say, well, you're only taking down 2 trees, but you actually already took down 5 trees. So they don't account for trees that are already taken down. And, you know, our hands are kind of tied on some of the issues, but perhaps maybe that is something we can discuss. And I know you have a list of questions for Amy, and I'll be absolutely shocked if we get through 25% of the presentation in an hour on Monday night, but we'll see how it goes. But maybe that's something to add to the list.
Can that list be circulated soon?
Yeah, sorry, I've done it a couple times, but I definitely have received more questions and suggestions. So I'll send an updated one tomorrow morning.
Okay, thanks. I took a look at the vernal pool issue, and it's very clear in our bylaws that anything that looks like it could be one, what's the word they use? The assumption, it's not the assumption, the presumption is that it is a vernal pool, whether it's certified by the state or whether it is not. So anytime we've got something that looks like it might be a vernal pool, we should treat it as such. Since we didn't have anything come up for, I don't remember the address, but you know, the large construction that's being done there by Stop and Shop, the state has identified potential vernal pools in that neighborhood, in fact, quite close to where they're working. So our bylaws are very clear about this. And that's 100-foot no disturb zone around that.
No, that's definitely a great topic. I do have a handful of questions about certified versus potential vernal pools, and you know, is it worth going through the certification process? Yeah, even though, like you said, the potential ones are still presumed to be significant and still have that 100-foot.
Even it doesn't even have to be a potential one identified by the state. Anything that looks like a vernal pool, the presumption is it is a vernal pool, and it doesn't need to be certified for us to act on it. It simply looks like that's what it is, then we treat it as such.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Having heard a motion in a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
Thank
Charlotte,
you
for a
very
lot
much,
of work.
everyone.
Thanks,
See you Monday
everybody.
night.
Thanks all.
Charlotte.
Good night.
Monday night.
Yep.
Good night, all.
Bye.